Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do it again, baby. Hello. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Woo. Woo.
I have been here for 12 years.
I'm not changing my lifestyle. I'm 4 or 5 women every day of my life.
Welcome to the Comedians of Wrestling podcast, a podcast where comedians dissect their wrestling to an unhealthy degree.
Thanks for nothing.
Okay.
You're
all right.
dismissed. Bye-bye.
I'm your host, the host with the most viral stand-up about professional wrestling, Dead Black.
Shut your hole.
A.K.A. Dunsky Blackamora, a.k.a. Donnie Wrestling. Donnie Wrestling. A.k.a. the modern-day goof and spoof
WWE Champion Jinder Mahal.
coming at you like Cleopatra, baby, gubba, gabba, gabba, wee. That's G-A-B-B-A-W-E.
Gabba, gabba, wee, gabba, gabba,
wee.
gabba, gabba, gabba.
Yeah, this girl, she's mine at then she's fine. Becky. Coming at you, Becky Lynch on the 101s. Everybody, you got it. It's Tuesday. Oh, man. Coming at you like... Wait, where am I at? Okay.
You got it.
Oh, man. We are back in action for your satisfaction with all of our spicy muy caliente wrestling reactions. By the way, you guys remember from last week the new national anthem of America, right?
Erase your mind. Now shake those hips.
That's right.
And let your back
Coming
bone
off
slip.
July 4th weekend, the new
Pull up your pants and do the muscle man
The
dance.
muscle man dance.
the Muscle Man dance is now all right. Anyway, what's up? We're here at the Cal Podcast talking all things pro wrestling, and what I would say is a very awesome week of pro wrestling. I had a very good time watching. I'll see if the people agree. Before I introduce the room where it happened, a little Hamilton for you, spicy. Remember, you can support this podcast on patreon.com/comedians of wrestling. We are grassroots. We are doing this podcast sans studio. We are out in the Zoom ether, rocking out in Coronaville. Support the podcast. Go to patreon.com/comedians of wrestling. Throw us a couple bucks. Show us that you dig what we're doing, but we're not asking for handouts. We got tons of bonus content. We have our AEW NXT bonus episode coming out every Friday morning. And also, we have the Cow Movie Club, where Erin, every Monday, we put out an episode where we watch and rate a movie with a pro wrestler in it. What movie is out this week, and what movie will we be watching next week, Erin?
Live, by the way.
Erin
Oh.
opened a LaCroix, but with very inaudibly.
The mic doesn't really pick it up. Anyways, next week we're watching a 2018 or 2019 comedy
Classic.
classic called Chasing Molly that is now available on the official Cow Movie Club streaming platform Tubi or Amazon Prime.
Yeah, actually.
Stars
you guys-
Kurt Angle.
Yeah, starring Kurt. I officially made Tubi streaming service one of my guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's a free streaming service where you could just watch Kickboxer and Bloodsport for free at any time. So I mean, and
And
no holds
Chasing
barred.
Molly.
Absolutely, and Chasing Molly.
The sequel to Chasing Amy.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yep.
with Kurt Angle.
Mhm.
Kurt Angle
With Kurt
plays
Angle.
Silent Bob.
He plays a lesbian in the movie, actually.
Absolutely. And then what can
Kurt
they watch
Angle
this
does?
week? What was the episode from this week, Erin?
Oh, this week we watched, oh my gosh, COVID-19 era classic, My Spy, starring Dave Bautista, also available on Amazon Prime. Loved it. Newman, did you see it?
No.
Spoiler
out.
alert, one of us gave this movie a perfect score. So who was it?
And spoiler alert for the Inside Out 2011 episode starring Triple H. One of
Great.
us gave that movie 5 moves. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
let you decide.
That was me. But it's Triple H talking about wanting pickles. Anyway, you heard Erin Finnerty in the house, the first lady. And let me introduce him, the nasty one. He is a nasty, nasty boy. Nasty Newman.
Welcome to How About It Penitentiary.
Wow.
Lockdown, COVID, round 1 still.
What? Oh, yeah, I know, right? Still in the very
It's not
much
the
in
second
first
wave. I don't know what people are thinking. It's still
We're
the
in
first wave.
Newman, let me ask you, what is the protocol for getting for when a new inmate arrives at the How About It Penitentiary?
You spray them down with like a delousing agent.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you put their belongings in a little box, show them to your cell, and then you super kick them.
Wow. Immediately for the super kick. You get in
Yeah.
the cell and you say, stand outside the door, right?
Right.
Stand outside the door, and then you pretend like you're and you pretend to walk away for a second. Psych, you
Right.
come back, super kick them in, and then you lock the door. Welcome to
Right.
fucking How About It City, bitch.
Right.
Then
Exactly.
you lock the fucking door.
And you do like you walk away and you do one of these, like you stop and you look back and then you hit him with the super kick.
I actually have a recording of what you said to the last inmate.
No more Mr. Nice Jew.
Wow, I thought that was unnecessary to make that religious thing. But anyway, we're talking all things pro wrestling this week, and I think in the rare occasion, I'm going to start at NXT because Keith Lee is the new unified. He's the double champ. He is the North American champion, which he was going into the match against Adam Cole, but he is now also the NXT champion. They put what would we call him? Keith Lee, Keith Two Straps, Keith Dos Straps. It's Bayley's line. Yeah, but Keith Lee is the champion, which is it's huge. First off, I like that those belts are together because I don't see any difference between them, really. I never really had. But Adam Cole with a historic run, I mean,
Yeah.
he had the title for 400 days or something like that. I haven't looked at the exact number, but definitely over a year. And then they chose Keith Lee to be the guy to take it off of him. How do you guys feel about that?
I love Keith Lee. I think it's
Yeah. I mean, is there a more, in the context of wrestling, that means that they're in love with this guy, right? If they're like, you get both belts, then it's like that. There's no other way to put it. They're in love with him.
Well, it's interesting because he definitely feels it's interesting because the NXT's in this weird spot where your immediate like literally when you hear the news, you go like, all right, so Cole's going up, right?
Right.
I was gonna ask, what is that about?
And that's the interesting thing about NXT is that I don't think that's going to happen, and they need more. They need more of the title moving around without it mean somebody's just graduating. If they're going to be their own show. For a while, it was really cool when it was the minor leagues of WWF, which by the way, of the main roster, which by the way, it still is. I
Right.
mean, Matt Riddle just got called up. And he didn't even win the title over there. Like Vince still could just pull guys on a whim. He runs the show. So that still is there. But Keith Lee, I mean, NXT is now winning the ratings war, seems to be. Last week they had like over 100,000 viewers more. So they must believe in Keith Lee to throw the strap on him. He definitely deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing him. I saw him a couple years ago at PWG, and then to see him go from in the span of 3 years, indie wrestling to on television with 2 belts is crazy.
I see it. I see a lot of development with Keith Lee in terms of his personality and his comfort on television in the past year, and I think a lot of that comes from. It reminds me of just seeing my friends who are like they're good at comedy, and then they get some kind of validation, and all of a sudden they're great just from
Right.
the hat, just from like here handing the torch. And I think his big moments last year, notably Royal Rumble and Survivor Series, really gave him that boost to believe in himself, because he's not a young
Yeah.
guy. I think he's like 36.
Oh,
Not
interesting.
that that's old either. I just mean in terms of wrestling, a guy who's like 400 pounds and 36.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool they got him to hold the mantle, and I think it's kind of I think it's the right move. I wonder, they showed a Killer Cross. I wonder if that's interesting. They just showed a shot of him. I wonder what the feuds are with Keith Lee, and then I wonder kind of like, I guess I wonder what they look like. How do you get under his skin? He seems like such a likable guy. You know what I
Right.
mean?
How do you make him mad?
Right.
Hmm.
You mess with Mia Lim. That's how you make him mad.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They told him me, Yim. It's like I don't know exactly. We'll see where it is. But Killer Cross wrestling him. Killer Cross can't afford to just lose clean to Keith Lee at this point. But we'll see where it goes. This leads me into kind of. But congratulations to Keith Lee. Well deserving. A great wrestler. Love. I think wrestling needs more guys his size who can go like him. He's awesome. And he has a natural likability. He is one of the rare baby. He is a natural baby face. So
Yeah, he's very lovable.
right.
And he's a big guy that wrestles without a shirt on. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
beat
that's
that.
bonus points too.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you said that. This was a thought I had. Obviously, this is the kind of thoughts that run through my head while I'm watching wrestling. Because I was like, I think he has his optimal look going.
Right.
I think he's wearing the right shorts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think I don't want to see straps on him. I like the full exposed bod, and then the booty, the with the longer short. It looks right on. It looks right.
Yes.
So anyway, Bask in his glory, everybody. Congratulations. This leads me to my next point, which is that everyone knows that I already knew the result of this match already, because last week I was looking up the card for this week on Wikipedia, and and you could hear me on the Patreon episode last week looking up the card for this week and spoiling it for myself, while right before it I tell everybody that I saw that there are spoilers. They do exist for this, so be careful about it while I click knowingly on the Wikipedia in real time. But so I knew Keith Lee was the champion for a week, but Jericho, Jericho in full-on pro wrestling scumbag mode is pulling a classic WCW of spoiling the other show in the ratings war. So Jericho, I don't know if Chris Jericho, I saw it on his Facebook, but Jericho wrote, like, he had an article that he posted that said, like, click on this for the results of next week's show. And he's main eventing on AEW on the counter programming,
Right.
But I don't know if it's Jericho has one of those things, like sometimes someone who's like big has kind of like a news, he kind of has like, right, his own, like, it's like ChrisJericho.com, but it just kind of reports on all wrestling news, and he doesn't even run it.
Right.
I didn't know if it was kind of like that, or he was
that's
pettily
interesting.
doing it.
Well, if it's his website, you would think that he has some control over the content that gets posted.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of that, did they make irregardless a word? Did I make this up?
No.
I think I saw an article saying that they put it in the dictionary.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, that just goes to prove how all words are bullshit.
That's exactly what some of us say here. Here, look. Regardless of what you think, irregardless is a word. NPR. A day ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Irregardless is now a word. Anyway, don't judge me, Newman. It's
the
yeah.
IR serves the same function as less. It's redundant.
Yeah.
It's irregard or regardless.
People are really mad about this. Many people find irregardless to be a nonsensical word as the ir prefix usually functions to indicate negation. However, in this case, it appears to function as an intensifier. That's what that's what they said. It's not a real word. I don't care what the dictionary says, responds author Michelle Ray, who teaches English at Silver Spring, Maryland. You say regardless of the fact, she tells NPR Morning Edition. Irregardless means not regardless, and that's not what you're trying to say at all. So why, in what context would irregardless make sense? I can't understand it. Wow. So anyway,
Regardless.
Yeah.
Irregardless. How would it work? What is the context where you would say not regardless?
I just naturally was going to use it and then remembered I'd seen this in passing. So I was saying irregardless. Oh, what I was trying to say was that regardless if Jericho is posting it or not, that's what I was trying to say. So I was saying irregardless. But now that I say it, it sounds so stupid. Anyway, guys, I mean, we just lost. I see. I'm following this in real time. We lost a listener.
The grammar police.
The grammar police. The grammar police and the mask police. Two functioning
They're
members
in cahoots
of society. I did see on CNN. This is irregardless of what we're talking about here, but I did see a guy on CNN, some sheriff in like I don't know where, like Arkansas or something, and he was wearing like a cowboy hat, had the straight up like Wilford Brimley mustache. You saw this guy?
No, I heard about it though.
CNN was interviewing him, and he's like, yeah, like, they were like, so you're telling your constituents not to wear masks? He's like, no, we're not the mask police. He's like, I wear a mask, I tell people to do it, but like, we're not the mask police. He's like, I take my mask, I wash it, I wash it. But this guy, then the CNN woman would be, I don't even care what your political stance are. She would just be like, so you're saying you're not going to wear the mask? He's like, I see what you're doing. Like, I already told you I'm not doing it. So what do you want to talk about? Like, it's so funny. She's trying to stretch the segment to the length it's supposed to go. He's like, we're not the mask police. You should wear a mask, clean it, but I'm not enforcing that. I'm not using my police officers to do that. I was like, all right. It was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, why would a police officer want to enforce public safety?
I know.
That's a very good question that I don't know.
Why would they? Why would they want to?
It was just funny because he wasn't trying to have the combo, and he kept. I love that. I see what you're doing. Then she was like, she brought up the president. She was like, "Yeah, the president." And he's like, "See, I didn't mention the president. You did. I support him, but I didn't mention him." Anyway, it was fun. In these.
Where was this at?
I was on CNN. I'll find you the clip. I'll send it.
Wait, but what city? Where's this guy from?
I don't know. I actually
Probably
don't know.
Georgia.
I don't know where. I'll think about it. I don't know, and I just was enjoying his energy, to be honest, because it was early morning. You know what I mean?
That changes things.
Yeah, it was just, I love it.
Ohio.
It was Ohio. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, but irregardless, the Adam Cole. How do you feel about Jericho spoiling? Like, do you think that's a cool move? Do you care? Do you think it's pro wrestling to do that? You know.
That's like strikes me as like an old school move. Like if the internet was a thing back in the day during the Monday Night Wars, this would have been happening every week.
So it happened in the Monday Night Wars. The most famous time was when
like
Mick Foley
air,
won the title.
Yeah.
And then they on Nitro were like, no reason to turn on Raw. Mick Foley wins the championship. Who cares? And then it backfired, and everybody turned on Raw. It's marked as the. It's like
don't look. It's like don't look now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Mick Foley winning the title was crazy to think at the time. He's still. He doesn't win any matches. Even if you watch that when he won it, it's the schmozziest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's Triple H, Stone Cold, Big Show. They're all out there, and then he happens to pull Mick Foley onto the Rock or whatever for the pin. All right, it's great. You should watch it to tell people to turn over the channel. But I would say I think it had a similar effect here. I knew Keith Lee won, and then I was more focused on that match than the Orange Cassidy Jericho match because I knew the title was switching. So I think spoiling results never gives you that don't watch result.
Right. And it's also, it seems like, even given the context of wrestling, it seems like slimy even for wrestling to
Yeah.
do.
Totally.
Like uncharacteristically slimy of Jericho. And he's a slimy guy.
He's
Yeah.
But
slimy.
it's like,
He is slimy.
that seems like a different level of slime.
Maybe he's just like trying it out. Like, how does this go? How do people take to this
Oh.
level of sliminess?
Try before
I
you slime.
think
Yeah.
many people say that what he's up to, he's calling this kind of behavior the Judas effect. But yeah, he also called out that if you remember Moxley and I don't remember if it was Ortiz. I don't know if it was Pride or Powerful, but they had an eye for an eye match on Dynamite. And so now the
Right.
Mysterio match versus Rollins is an eye for an eye match. So he's pointing out the stuff. But it's cool because he's going all in with Jericho understands that there's no actual consequences in wrestling. Like,
Right.
the only thing that matters in wrestling is heat, you know?
Right.
And at this point, also, he's probably very comfortable knowing, like, if I never go back to WWE, I don't care. He's got his
Right.
money. He could keep doing the cruise. Even if AEW failed, he could run a successful indie promotion. Like, he's fine. You know? He wrestled Mania 33 at a singles match against Kevin Owens. That's a great way to go out in WWE. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Do you think there's a less than 100% chance that there's a COVID outbreak on his cruise?
That would be like a super spreader for sure. A cruise?
I don't think there's a less than 100% chance.
No, not less than, maybe more.
It's at least 100% guaranteed to happen. It just depends on how much.
I mean, cruises are just like
Ugh.
COVID petri dishes. My
Yeah.
parents had a cruise scheduled for August, and like, you know, they're not going, obviously.
They better
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
Close to.
no, I'm sure it's canceled. But anyway, all right. Well, I feel like I think that it's just I think because you don't get the intended result on it. I don't know, but it's kind of fun. It fits Jericho's gimmick to go all in on WWE. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it doesn't bother me, but I agree. It's not like the coolest thing to do. Okay. So okay, I want to talk about this. Shayna Baszler, okay?
Mhm.
This was people were really into this. She filmed a match for Main Event.
Yeah.
You know, this is coming off her, and Becky also announced that, I don't know if she announced, but I saw on the sheets, not totally verified. And by the way, people give me shit about looking at the dirt sheets.
Regurgitating the sheets, Dan.
Yeah,
What has this podcast become?
I got busted. What has this podcast become? That Becky had said that she wanted to lose to Shayna at Mania.
I just want to point out, Dan, in your Facebook post about this, you used regardless correctly
I
in
did.
the post. Yes. So
Nice.
tip of the cap from the grammar police.
I don't think I say irregardless that much either. I think I'll spot it, but it does bother me that we would make a word that makes no sense a word, you know. But then again, it does benefit a man like me who is known to veer from time to time. Not not stray. Okay, veer off the vernacular. Okay, I'm not. All right, I'm not gonna make a joke with that. But okay, anyway, here we go. So so Shayna Baszler. We also heard that Vince is not sold on her. That's what all the reporting was on it. What do you guys think? Do you think it's good for Shayna to do that, to be like kind of wrestling main event matches, or should she have stayed more high profile? And then also, with wrestlers being let go at the rate they are, is it such a big demotion to wrestle on main event anymore, or is just everyone's going to have to? Is it the Curtis Axel zone that it used to be?
Well, we have to also, so you have to properly contextualize it, right? Like they film, if you're on main event, that means
Right.
that you're not on Raw, and instead you're filming your match while people are like filing in to the show. So you're like pre-opening match So
I
what other
forgot about
context?
why. I forgot about it in that context. That's a great
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So like it's whatever. So there has to be like there has to be a parallel, right? Like it's like so is it a demotion or is it like, well, we want to have you work on stuff before it gets on TV, or I don't know what the full context is, but I don't think it's good per se.
And they're working with a limited talent pool because of the people
Right.
who were furloughed or whatever,
Right.
fired, and because people are opting not to wrestle because of COVID. So, I mean, it kind of
Yeah,
fills that space.
Yeah, I didn't
And
think it was such
like
a big
you
deal.
said, like maybe it's like they want her to like work on stuff before she gets back in the picture.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe
mean, they
she's
could
just
also
coming back from taking
Right.
some time off or something.
right.
But I do
There's
believe
also
that Vince is not feeling her.
I could
I
see
think that's
that.
true
I could see
because I wasn't feeling her run on the main roster. I don't think any of us were really thought it was killer. So to be fair to her, some of the booking was weird. If you remember in the chamber, that was kind of her big moment, and that was booked for her to like just stand around for a while.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's such. I also think like it's cool if WWE can start having it where like you lose a big match and then you go to the bottom. That's a good way to build people back up. One of the
Right.
problems with WWE is that there seems to be kind of like no actual structure to it. I think that's where AEW kind of does thrive. Like Jericho was entering just now when I was watching AEW, and you're like, oh, they put it there like he's 2-0 since losing to Moxley, right? So that's when he lost the
Right.
title. So you're like, oh, he's 14-5-1 in 2020, right? So then you're like, or maybe that's his lifetime, probably his full AEW career. So you're kind of like, oh, all right, I see where Jericho stands a little bit. He's right now
Yeah.
2-0. He's building himself back up. That's how UFC. So if wrestling is supposed to be real fighting, that's what happens in UFC. Like in UFC, it's like you lose, then you get kind of a jabroni fight. You win 3, and you'll probably get a title shot. If you win 3 in a row, you probably get a title shot. And then also there are money fights. There's like stunt fights, So it's like, well, this guy's really popular, so he's a draw. There's draw fights also. So, so I think it's cool as long as they use it. The problem is like main event. It's like we don't even watch main event.
Where is main event? Is it a direct to network situation?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
It may be on USA on like Saturday
mornings. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
All right. Kairi Sane
Hmm.
apparently is leaving to go back to Japan. Her husband lives in Japan. She just got married like 3 months ago or something, right? I lost track of time. That honestly, if you told me that was 2 years ago, I would believe you.
3 months ago.
Yeah.
April?
I think she got married during the quar. I don't know. Irregardless, folks, I'm gonna just bury that joke early.
I bet you won't.
No, of course not. I'll get that joke. I'm trying to get that joke over. I'll put that joke over. But Kairi, do you think Kairi? I was thinking about her career, and I was like, listen, you should do what you got to do for your life. You know what I mean? Do you think that she's better off in Japan, or do you think that she could do more on the main roster? It feels like Vince doesn't have that much for her,
Mm-hmm.
I love her though. I've always loved watching her
Me too.
wrestle. So
She's a blast.
it would be a shame to lose her, but again, like I think she would be fine if she went and wrestled in Japan. I thought there was word that she was going to retire. Is that true? Am I making?
Oh, you know what? I just saw she's going back to Japan. Sarah Logan retired and is pregnant. Announced that she's pregnant.
Mm.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know. She'll be fine, I think, anywhere because she's great.
But is there female wrestling in New Japan?
No, it's
There's
called
female-
Stardom.
Stardom? Yeah.
Right. And then there's like Joshi is a separate thing, right?
Well, Joshi is just women's wrestling
Right.
in Japan.
Oh, that's just the term for women's wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. But why doesn't New Japan have a women's division? Like why?
That's a question. Yeah, that's a lot of people ask that question. It's
It feels like
they
a
just they,
progressive culture over there in that way. Like like it's not like women are, you wouldn't be able to watch women wrestle. There's so many women, Japanese women wrestlers. I don't really understand that part of their culture. Like, because when you
yeah
want a female match on Wrestle Kingdom,
yeah. I don't know. That's sort of been that it was hot. That was debated a year ago. There was people like asking that question, and then there was people who were upset that the Ghostbusters were ladies who were
oh
saying,
my god.
"No, it's for men. They already have stardom." Blah blah blah. So
And not only that, we're getting like another male Ghostbusters. Like it's like Paul Rudd.
Yeah, they're
and
righting their wrongs with that Paul Feig movie.
I
with
know.
him in.
I know. Like I was like, what? Who gives a shit about this? Like kid go. I mean, I don't like love movies with a bunch of kids in them.
Right.
Not because I don't dislike kids. I just have a hard time locking into kids as main characters. But like, so like, it's like, oh, their dads were the Ghostbusters, and then I gotta watch these kids are like, oh, the gun's heavy. Like, I don't give a shit about that. You know?
yeah,
Right.
Anyway,
I like new Ghostbusters for the record.
it was really funny. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Kate McKinnon was hilarious in that movie,
She's
and
so
Chris
funny.
Hemsworth was fucking hilarious in that movie. If you remember,
Always a treat.
the only thing
And
that
Neil
was
Casey.
jabroni status in that movie. Neil
Yeah.
Casey's also in that
Yeah.
movie. The only thing that was jabroni status in the Ghostbusters reboot was the use of the old Ghostbusters.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's forgettable. I forgot that they were in it.
Yeah, like Bill Murray shows up as like some weird character that like gets thrown out of a window. You're like, they should just be the old Ghostbusters again.
Right.
hmm
And then they like pass the torch, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So yeah, but I would be bummed to see Kyrie Sane leave. All right, moving on. New United States title has been unveiled. What do you guys think?
Well, Dan said something in response to the title that now every time I see it,
It's in
it's
my
all I
notes,
see.
right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I see in the text thread when the photo went out.
Yeah.
It's all I see now.
Is that it's
It
a
is.
little fascist.
It's a little Nazi looking.
Yeah. It's kind of this weird thing where, but what I will say for the record, I think it looks cool. The title.
Yeah.
I think it's a
definitely
really
an upgrade.
first off, it's passes the hunk of metal test.
Yeah.
It's a huge hunk of metal. I think like the paint on it is a little like when you paint metal too much, it looks a little like art project-y. But if you see it, but also like there is like the lineage of the U.S. title has red, white, and blue on it.
It is very American looking. I'll give you that. I'm
Yeah.
seeing the stripes, the stars.
You just got to think, if you were wearing that, would you feel cool?
No, it says champion all big.
You don't like champions? You're not a
Champion
champion?
brand?
If
What's
you're
up with your
wearing,
self-confidence, bro?
I have more self confidence than this belt would grant. If you
Newman
have
is
a
very
giant,
confident.
if you have a giant gold belt on, what are you other than the champion? Why would it have to say champion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
They
fucking
made the
mayor?
made the wrong words big. Like it
Right.
should, it's yeah.
United States should be the big thing, and then like champion.
You guys can see me over Zoom, but
Are people going to buy the replica title of this?
this is a
100%.
picture I took in Berlin.
Oh
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of. I mean, it's the classic Nazi eagle, but it's
Right.
kind of a thin line. It's a thin line between the American bald eagle and the Nazi bald eagle, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
they put a lot of effort into making this look like a bald with the silver head and the gold body.
Yeah, I
it loo-
appreciate that.
It looks like the quarter, like. But
Right,
I do think it's cool.
It kind
and
of
I'm
looks like one of
kinda-
those pins that like a pilot gives like a little kid on a flight, like
Yeah.
the wings.
like Delta wings. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing more
I
American.
mean, that's a
than
really
that.
apt. That's a really apt comparison, considering they're both purely symbolic.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like it. I also think that Apollo Crews is having kind of a fun run with it. Not like I'm not like a huge Apollo Crews mark or anything, but it is giving him a little shine.
I
But
think Newman Marie Kondo'd him a few months ago.
oh yeah.
Yeah, he went in the trash.
We took flack
He's
for
still
throwing
there.
wrestlers in the trash too.
He's still
But
there.
I'll say this.
Did we?
Just on the Facebook group. It's not even worth talking about. But sorry, comedy doesn't even exist anymore. But listen, okay? Okay, folks, come on. Is that necessary? Here's what I want to say. One thing in WWE, and this kind of goes to my point about the structure thing. I kind of don't like how just anyone can debut a title. There's no ceremony to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I keep going to AEW. I mean,
How dare you?
whatever.
Bias alert.
But even in NXT, I feel like it's always Triple H, right? He comes out with the title. Like you want to, like Dana White, you want to feel like these things are official, like they're not toys, and that requires like treating them very seriously. Like you need like a proper commissioner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And WWE does it sometimes. Like Foley with the 24/7 title, like that was a terrible debut for a title. But it's like, all right, you bring in Foley's so that's kind of like a big deal, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bret Hart debuted the AEW title at All Out, I believe.
Yeah. That's when MJF peaked, by the way.
At that title at All
Remember
Out.
when Bret had the Hitman had and then he came out and he cut that promo on him.
Yeah.
That was like MJF peaked, and then it was from there.
He'll go back up though.
Yeah.
He's a great.
I mean, maybe.
talent. He's great.
MJF chart. You can get a cameo from MJF for $500. By the way.
That's too much.
so expensive, but it's such great kayfabe.
Yes,
that
MJF,
he's worth $500.
Roman Reigns, and Ric Flair all cost the same. So MJF.
That's
places
insane.
him- Yeah.
Roman Reigns $500.
Yeah.
I
Craig
mean,
Kilborn charges $900 for the record.
I know.
I'm
well,
a big Kilby.
by the way,
Who's a big enough Daily Show mark that like Craig Kilborn is their
I
fucking-
love Kilby.
no, that's not why it's that. It's Kilborn has a whole kayfabe
Yeah.
going on. If you follow Craig Kilborn's
On
Instagram,
Instagram.
his basic he has like a basically a wrestling persona about being like the like classiest guy in the world.
Yeah, like he
Got
wears like a
it.
lot of ascots,
Yeah.
drinks martinis.
That's fun.
It's
He
very
has
funny.
like the portrait of himself from his Late Late Show set. It's
His whole like gimmick is like white privilege, basically.
hmm
Like I think he did a thing where he's like marching, but like wearing an ascot and like stuff like that. Like a lot of like, and he always talks about teamwork, right? Like he has like one word. Maybe it's like he always says like in one word. I would say teamwork. I don't know what it is. It's very funny. He's very funny. He's a fucking hilarious guy.
I
And
used
his
to
orig-
tape like the Late Late Show on VHS every night and watch it the next day when I was like in middle school.
But yeah, all right. One thing I noticed, okay, kind of weird. Did you notice Ricochet's promo this week? And
No, I didn't
I
see-
felt like it was I don't know how to put this, but it felt like he was a little more hip hop in his promo, and like he said literally in the meantime, in between time, like the rap lyric, you know.
Yeah.
And anytime that happens, I just picture Vince being like giving him the note, like urban it up or something. You know what I mean?
God,
Yeah.
urban
know.
it up. I wonder if that's how he says it.
But I'll say this is that like
Why don't you inner city it up for me?
Vince.
I really
Section 8 it up.
don't-
Not my words, Vince's.
no, I know it's Vince. It's Vince. But it was this thing where I thought that Ricochet was actually there was an element there where before he's cut like very weird promo, he felt a little bit like it was kind of the most something about him. I don't know if he was told he seemed comfortable and he was rocking the booty shorts and I kind of saw Ricochet that like they might be moving away from the superhero thing because he's paired with Cedric Alexander and letting him be more of himself. So I don't know, but I do think the key to Ricochet is like he's another guy, a lot of likability. You know, let Ricochet come out, dazzle the crowd, and just have people like him. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because that's really kind of the only thing he's missing. He obviously is tremendously athletic, and like, I don't know if though, like he doesn't strike me as somebody who listens to hip hop. He strikes me as somebody who listens to like My Chemical Romance,
I was gonna
Honestly,
say like country music, like
Paramore. He's from Kentucky.
yeah. I
Yeah.
watched his episode of maybe it was 24, one of the documentary shows about him, and he does not strike me as a hip hop listener at all. Like he seems very kind of
We're
like
trying our best, people. We're trying our
I
best.
know, but he seems like a really sweet guy, but he doesn't. I don't know. He just seems like
he,
I don't know, like someone who may be from Kentucky. Like
yeah,
Paducah.
I just think it's really I think it's really interesting that he like I don't know. There was something there where I was like, you know how tightly scripted these promos are, and I'm like, I hope this is they're not writing it for him like this, you know?
right.
But it's very small. But anyway, I just think Ricochet is such a big talent. Like they gotta
Yes.
just crack him. Like put whatever like time you need. Like if Ricochet, if they can't get Ricochet to be like a Jeff Hardy style heavyweight champion, then they can't do anything. I mean, the guy is like a mega talent. He's a star. Like brand him. Like he needs AJ Styles gloves, like stuff like that. He needs like, you know, he needs like he's a big star. You know.
Yeah.
So I hope they crack it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Ricochet, it seems the math is pretty simple. It's like I can do things like front flip out of the ring onto
Right.
the ramp. You can't do that, so I'm better than you, and make him kind of a heel, and it's just done because, like, I'm sure he is confident in himself and can tap into that and just make that the thing. I think
it's
that
like-
he's not a natural face.
He's such a wow. Like we got to remember he's such a big talent. Like if they find a way to bury him, it's crazy, you know.
Right.
Now it's tricky when you have a guy like Brock who's the champion, you know.
Ricochet, yeah.
It is Ricochet. Richard O'Shea. That's what what's our truth calls him. But
God, I
anyway,
love R-Truth.
yeah, they got to get Ricochet over. So all right, let's talk about Bayley and Sasha for a second. I think Bayley and Sasha are really hitting a nice stride for themselves.
Yeah.
Specifically Bayley, and then because Bayley's doing it, I think that we're bringing the best out of Sasha. Now,
Yes.
I'm still not. I'll say it. I'm not like hugely sold on Bayley or whatever, but her new gimmick, I don't know exactly what it is. If you remember when she first became champion, her thing was kind of like, I don't know. She wore it was kind of like, I would say like a Cleopatra kind of thing, like right, like she had like a little like head. It was like, I'm just really serious, right?
It seemed
Yeah.
like she was like
Moody.
like a moody tween who's like entering like a hot topic phase.
Right.
You know, with the eyeliner.
But now she's just like full on like annoying white lady.
She has that Karen haircut. Like,
Right? Someone
Yeah.
online called her a Karen, and I was like, I'm not sure actually right now, truthfully, where we stand, like how inappropriate it is to like joke about calling people Karens. I actually don't really know.
Why would it be
Fuck a
inappropriate?
Karen. Fuck a
Oh,
Karen.
okay, all right. I don't know, like dude, I haven't been outside for like 6 months, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
This,
cool.
everything's
This is the only thing I'm going to say about Karen as a concept. Suddenly, people who, didn't give a shit about the context of words and
Right.
claim that you could just say whatever you wanted because it's just jokes, man. Right now, suddenly have a deep knowledge of context where they're like,
Right.
well, you're saying Karen, but we know what you mean. Fuck
outta
off and
here.
die. Fuck off and die. That's my my
right.
statement.
Well, I just meant it in the sense of that, like, Karen is a funny term, but what they're calling is one of the least funny things about society. Like, that.
Oh, okay.
I just mean, like, Karenisms is basically like, it's like the nuance of like Get Out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
about like people who are like think they're good and
Right.
are like truly horrible. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, what I mean is, I don't think it's offensive to call Bayley that. What I mean more is that she's just kind of like, calling Karen makes it more charged than what I mean. But
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
but she has that energy of Central Park Karen, like
Right.
of like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna call the cop, you know, like that whole like, I'm being like assaulted here. Like, she's really, I didn't know Bayley had this much personality. Like, you know?
Yeah. I don't get that vibe though. I don't get it. I don't get the Karen. If that's the context, then I don't think she's a Karen.
I think she's
I
more
don't-
like
Annoying
being
white
like immature.
lady
It's more like,
is
right?
pretty accurate.
Yeah.
right.
Well, like, what's the difference between like her gimmick and I don't mean this as like a knock,
Yeah.
just as like comparatively, like, what's the difference between her and like Kyle O'Reilly or like, you know, somebody from Undisputed Era where they're just sort of like,
There's no
arrogant.
difference actually, really.
yeah, they're
She's
arrogant,
doing like
but- yeah.
Undisputed Era, kind of, right? Like, she's
Right.
got-
Because they're like like frat guys, like Cobra Kai was a comparison, like annoying white guys.
Yeah.
And
it just feels
Bayley's
like she's
bringing
like
that energy.
she's calling herself great, but it's like not that earned, but she is the
Right.
champ. It's that whole thing, you know? But she's also
Yeah.
doing it where she's like screaming at the top of her lungs at the announcers and just be like, "Oh, these titles are so heavy," and she's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really good. I mean, they're doing a
Yeah.
great job. She's saying things. I said that I wrote in my notes that she's like Clifford. Me and
Yeah. We've been talking about Clifford a lot lately.
me and Erin talk a
That's-
lot about the movie Clifford, which
I
by
was
the way,
talking
it's
about
on
Clifford
HBO
earlier.
Max.
Yeah, I got
that movie has one
Yeah.
of my favorite scenes ever,
What is
and
it?
I'm sure you know what it is. It's when he's sitting there and he's like trying to tell, and Charles Grodin is like, "Can you just be a normal boy?
We just talked about
Yeah.
this.
Can
Yeah.
you just be a normal boy? You can't, can you?" And he's like trying to like just make like a normal
He's trying,
face.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
like, you
That's
can't, can you?
Well, apparently
it's so
Erin's
good.
husband does a great an impression of that
Yes.
scene.
Okay, Dan brought up Clifford, and then I asked Mike if he liked Clifford. He's like, "Oh, I love Clifford." He's like, "We've watched it." I was like, "No, I haven't seen it since like '91."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, my favorite part is where Grodin's like, 'Can't you be a normal boy?'" And then he did the like him trying to be a normal boy, and that made me laugh so fucking hard. Yeah.
Resetting, constantly
You guys
reset.
you have to watch
so
the
good.
YouTube of this episode if you
I
haven't
don't like-
already to see the impressions.
Tom Sharpling is always he's like obsessed with that movie, and so he would talk about it forever. And it used to be on. This is a little backstory. I used to when I was I shared a room with my brother growing up all through high school. Okay,
Which brother?
Neil, my younger brother.
Mm,
And
big fan.
Yeah. He's a top guy.
Mhm.
And I slept on the top bunk, okay? And when I would go, it was terrible. I've never talked about this on the pod.
I didn't know this.
Oh God, really?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's such a. All right, well, I slept on the top bunk of my pod, of my bunk bed, my pod. Wow.
You guys were in pods? How
Wow.
modern.
I slept. Well, yeah. So anyway, I was in pods. Yeah, it was like kind of the Matrix or whatever. We were just batteries, but folks. But so
Spoiler.
so the remote was broken for like just years.
Oh God.
And so, like, I would just set it on Comedy Central or whatever, and then just climb up into my bunk bed, and then like whatever channel was on, it stays on that
That's
channel.
what it is.
And they would show Clifford like all the fucking time, and I would just watch it over and over again. It was on Comedy Central. This movie Clifford, it's Martin Short playing a kid, but and Tom Sharpling has pointed this out before that like it's very hard to pull off playing a kid,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And they do it now like in Pen 15 and
10,
stuff.
15.
But in that, what they do is they just they kind of act the same and don't acknowledge it.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is like straight up like he is doing a kid impression, you know, and they make him look small. And it's fucking amazing. Martin Short is so talented. And I'm saying
Yeah.
we need more movies because I have friends who have that kind of physical ability and talent. Like, I don't know why Middleditch doesn't have his version of Clifford, you know?
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know why those
He
movies
could
are so
play
out of
Son
style.
of Clifford.
Yeah, does every movie have to be like knocked up where it's, you know?
Oh, it's so adult.
Right. Like I love that kind of stuff. It's the roles I'm more suited for, so it works in my favor. But like I'm saying, like some people are just like Jim Carrey kind of people. We need a lane for those kind of people, those kind of big physical performers, you know?
Man, Jim Carrey is such like
And
I was just flipping through Netflix and it
Right.
like auto plays like the thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Fun with Dick and Jane. And
Yeah.
have you ever seen that movie?
No,
There's
but
a
I'm sure
scene
it's
where
hilarious.
there's a scene where he's trying to rob like a convenience store, and the gun gets stuck in his hoodie pocket,
Yeah.
and he's like keeps trying to like pull it out.
Oh, I can
Oh
like
my
picture
God.
it.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking perfect.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and then I watched people coming up in comedy. I know we're veering off, but like coming up in comedy, I would see people who have that kind of talent, and I'd watch just like jealous people say to me like, "Oh, I don't, you know, I don't think that's that funny." That kind of stuff. They're like, "No, you're just jealous because you can't do that." Like,
Right.
I'm jealous because I can't move. I can't physically. I watch like Donald Glover on stage. The control over his body. I'm not even remotely surprised at like the "This Is America" video where he moves like that. It's like, yeah, like some people move like that, and
Yeah.
we need a lane for. There's got to be just like here's movies for people who move cool, right?
You know who moves really cool?
Who?
Ricochet.
Mm,
Richard O'Shea.
yes, Richard O'Shea.
Anyway,
One
there's
of the
room for
greats.
everybody. There's room for all kinds of talents. Anyway, folks. Okay. So, Sasha and Bayley, yeah. So I think Bayley is killing it. She's doing like a Clifford thing. We're saying, good for her. You know, you got to toy around with it. This is why always on this podcast, like, I think it's really funny. We and Erin, maybe we had this conversation on this pod, maybe last week. People ask me like, who's your favorite wrestler or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And I'm always like, I don't know. I don't watch wrestling like that anymore. You know,
Right.
I'm more watching wrestling to see the art and watch like people flourish. So I always find it interesting when people are like, I've been on Bayley train since day one. Like we have people in the Facebook group who are like, I thought she was doing great heel work before. It's like, no, she wasn't.
It's just
she
like
wasn't.
with music or like with
Right.
bands. Like, oh, I loved their first album that like no one heard or whatever because it
Yeah,
gives
the one
you
that wasn't good.
cred.
maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's
So
like
then you're
pride.
like, yeah. It's like, well, I don't need any of that. Once I hit a certain age, I don't need to be like the first guy on this train
Right.
and blah blah blah. But I mean, I'm sure I'll contradict that at some point. But I'm saying. But the cool thing in wrestling is watching a wrestler find it. Like a Britt Baker, I think is the best example I can think of in recent history. Like she had a complete switch. Like she sucked so bad. So don't be like I liked Britt Baker when she was her big return to Britsburg. That was my favorite.
Right.
Like you know what I mean. So but it's great to see Bayley hit that stride, and I love that WWE believed in her. They don't cave to like a jabroni run. You know, I think Sasha, on the other hand, it's weird because Sasha is such a star. She had a great match with Io Shirai last week. Who did she wrestle this week? She had a great match against somebody.
With
I don't know why I'm-
Kyrie?
Oh yeah, Kairi Sane, great match. She's having these like dream matches. They're a blast, right? And she's bringing a great energy to it. But I really do think that she's very comfortable in this Bayley's sidekick role.
She does. I don't know why. She could be beyond, but she's in this like tag team zone, and maybe she's happy there. I don't know why, but I think she could do another solo run.
Well, she's kind of good at it. Like
at
she
will.
does. Like
she looks great.
she like Bayley's kind of the personality, right? And then Sasha just stands there like looking like. I mean, I want to say she looks like $2 million. I
She
mean,
looks
at least.
great.
right. She looks so fucking awesome. And then she does like a lot of looks and all this stuff now. And she peppers in like when she says like one line or one sentence, like it's great.
Like when
But
she
then-
did the Taker, like
That was so fucking funny.
Yeah, that
That's
made me
exactly
laugh.
what I'm talking about. She did a Taker. Bayley was ripping on Taker. It was fucking hilarious. I
on the
thought.
phone.
It's like Taker
wanna
called
call-
me.
No, go ahead.
It was anti-funny. I just want to say it was like anti-comedy. Like it was
Right.
incredibly unfunny and annoying, but she knew that and then just kept leaning into it. But then Sasha, right? She was like, "Here's the phone call I did with Taker called me to be like, you're the best champion." And blah, blah, blah. But then Sasha literally just did that small thing where she like rolled her eyes up and it was like already a fucking meme, you know, and like a gif.
She was like laughing while she did it too, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
I want to call to everybody's attention. About 3 years ago, Bayley did a Snickers commercial that foreshadowed her sort of run now. And if you go back on the archives and you listen, I've mentioned this commercial before.
Yeah, I remember this commercial.
Because it was the first time I'd ever seen a personality on Bayley. She does this sort of bratty thing very naturally. And it's weird to think that we had so many years of her trying this, like, I'm a kid who got to wrestle gimmick.
Right. With a name like Pamela, I mean, it should be pretty
Pam
natural.
from San Jose. No
Yeah,
less.
it should come pretty natural.
By the way, I'm getting texts from Letterman, who is ecstatic that one of his guys has become the NXT champion.
Oh yeah, congratulations!
Yeah. I think everyone's watching wrestling again. I think people are getting back in. Are people ready for wrestling? Because wrestling's ready. I mean, imagine you pop back in and you see the work Seth Rollins is doing right now, and then you're like, oh shit, it's Seth Rollins versus Alistair? That's sick. And then you're like, Bayley's good?
Where have I been?
And finally, Taker is gone? Yeah.
I just realized too that like Keith Lee wore a Black Lives Matter thing, right?
Yeah.
On his gear, and then he gets awarded both of the belts. I think that's a cool thing.
Tonight also, right?
That's a cool thing. Yeah, did he?
I think he did.
Because we saw what happened to Daniel Bryan.
What happened to Daniel Bryan?
For speaking out. He lost the belt to AJ, who famously didn't say anything.
Yes. Although I did, to be honest, feel a little. I was thinking about my rib on AJ for a second, and not that it's unwarranted, but I did feel like I was like, I could see like he's not like a big social media guy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But I think, but I am just disappointed in him because like I don't know. I kind of anyway, whatever.
Well, maybe disappointed isn't the right
it.
word because
I think that I understood singling him out was definitely unnecessary, maybe arguably unnecessary, but I also just feel like he matters a lot to me. Like I still am like watching his IC run, and I'm like I fucking love the guy. You know what I mean? So then
you felt a little let down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, totally. So anyway, but yeah, so well, I was talking about Rollins. I mean, do you ever get sick of the stomp? I feel like some finishes are just so fucking good. Like anytime he does a stomp, I love it. And it's funny because the stomp I did get, I just want to bring it up because the stomp took a lot of heat during the Bray Wyatt run.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Because he gave like 40 stomps to the Fiend in a row. Remember that?
Yeah.
But it's so fucking funny in wrestling how none of it ever really matters. Because then I was just watching the stomp. He stomped maybe Aleister Black or somebody on the stairs. I think it was last week. Rollins did just a running stomp. Like he ran around the ring. Somebody was set up for a stomp. He stomped him, and then he just kept running. And I was like, oh, I love the stomp. And I'm like, oh, wow, it's so funny how all of us marks, like imagine you're a wrestler, all stupid ass marks. Like 3 months ago, we're like, they fucking ruined the stomp.
Ruined forever.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, what a move. And I barely remember when I was like, the stomp is ruined.
Fickle.
I mean, we all recognize that like I probably even at the time recognized that like it doesn't actually matter, but it is so funny because like
that's why like when people go crazy over something like that, and it's like the end of the world, and like they flip out. It's kind of like, just chill. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
In July, you won't even remember.
I want to talk about what I'm calling the match of the week here, which I thought was Matt Riddle versus Johnny Drip Drip. John Hennigan has a sick. I posted it. He's got a sick move, or it's a couple moves that just if you're on the Facebook group, check it out if you didn't watch the match. But I encourage you to watch the whole match. Again, Riddle's under fire right now. He's also top billed on SmackDown right now. We're not, especially if John Morrison has a great showing, we're not going to be able to just avoid Matt Riddle. So it just is what it is.
Yeah.
He did put out a pretty weird video today. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, that's why I'm off the Matt Riddle train. That video was so stupid. It made me believe him less. It like didn't make him any more. It made him less credible in my eyes.
I mean, I
didn't see the video. What was it?
He put out a video.
Yeah, he put out a 2-minute video on Twitter.
Yeah.
Denying the claims of the person who he assaulted, and it was just bullshit. It was I forget the acronym.
I didn't do it.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, and it was just it was bullshit. I mean, whatever, but he denied it. He, reiterated his claims that she's a stalker. He copped to having an affair, obviously, and denied that this incident, very believable incident, happened. And yeah.
What he essentially was trying to do was say, like, look, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I had this affair. I really did it. I'm not denying that at all. I'm embarrassed by it. Blah, blah, blah. But, like, I didn't assault anybody.
Right.
There's no chance. I didn't do that. I would never do that. That's essentially what he was trying to do. But what I just did it right here was even more eloquent than he did. The problem with what he did, because look, I obviously I'm not gonna throw the guy under the. I'm not throw the guy under the bus, but I'm saying, like, I don't have any proof here of anything, so I don't think we need to litigate it, especially when I'm trying to just talk about how awesome Morrison was in this match. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. But he called it like crazy a lot of times,
right?
Which is just kind of like, you also did have like a relationship with this woman,
right?
So just to kind of there was so much like old school discredit. I don't know how his Fugazi Florida lawyer let him put out this statement. I would call the same lawyer that printed their thing.
I'm allergic to bullshit. This is
they printed their statement on labels,
on address, like you didn't have a sheet of 8.5 by 11 laying around to print that on.
Yeah, this is like, if you're his lawyer, you just quit the case. You're like, what are you doing, man?
The
You're
lawyer is just
only put out statements that are like very well curated. You know what I mean? Like, just because the thing about Matt Riddle is he has that, like, irregardless of hey folks, but of any wrongdoing or blah blah blah, he has a smirky bro face. It's his gimmick, So he has like it's exactly that. Like, he's trying to be like dead serious, and he's having a hard time not being like, all right, bros, because he's like looking into the camera.
Right, totally.
And I feel for him on that. Like, not to, like, I'm saying, I'm not saying, I understand that thing. It is very uncomfortable, and that is a thing where, it's in like Gone Girl and stuff, where it's like he smiles at the wrong minute and they take a picture.
Right.
That is something I try to be sensitive to. That like the media, like, you get painted by how you sound, look, blah blah blah. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just going on the fact that he, like, did you have to like just call her crazy a bunch of times? Like, you couldn't have eloquently wrote something that was like we have a different vision of our relationship. We had a different view of that, and I'm not proud of that because I'm married, but I did care about you, and I'm sorry that you saw this that way. Like, even that's first draft, and that's not,
100% agree. I think, like, I said it on the Facebook group, like, it would have been 2,000% like a better look just to cop to it, own to something happened, whether we say things differently or it was a mistake, just something like this complete denial of that is insane. Like, I don't know why it's
Right.
super believable. Like, I just don't get it. But anyways, video was bullshit, but he's still wrestling and he'll continue to. So
Yeah, it was not. It
just
was
gotta-
it was really. It rubbed me weird. You know, like it was.
he
like,
rubbed you weird.
he
Do you
ru-
want to talk about it?
Well, I mean,
You sound crazy, Dan.
you know, actually, I have a quote from him about that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
John Morrison with a Razor's
Yes.
Edge, Blue Thunder, Rock Bottom. Like, what do you even call that move?
I don't know. It was so sick. The whole sequence was amazing. The first thing he does is he goes for like a what's it,
Roundhouse.
Trouble in Paradise, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
goes for a Trouble in Paradise, and then Matt Riddle puts his hands up to block him, but then he goes low. He does
Yeah.
a sweep instead.
Straight up Tekken.
This guy's like 42, 3 years old. It's
Yeah.
incredible what he did. To be honest, Matt Riddle was super talented and in his prime. I thought Morrison like showed him the ropes in that match. I thought in that
Yeah.
match he was like, hey, I know you're cocky, but like this is how it's done. You know?
Yeah, man.
And
that like side salt deadlift onto his shoulders, like,
so strong.
what the fuck?
Yeah. And Riddle's
Like,
not
even
like
if
a
Matt-
tiny guy. You know, he picked him
No,
up
he's
like
huge.
nothing. He did basically a somersault and like picked him up on the way up. He did like
Yeah.
a cartwheel where mid cartwheel picked
Oh,
up
yeah.
Riddle and just had him on his shoulders. And then he did a spinning Blue Thunder bomb thing, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like Razor's Edge, Blue Thunder, and then into like a Rock Bottom.
It's killer.
crazy.
It's
I just
must
watched.
watch. Like it's red alert. It's fucking so good. So I just want to talk about Riddle opened up. I will say this, okay? Separate. Many would say irregardless of the Riddle accusations. Let's just talk about. He opened Raw. I've read SmackDown. I've read that Vince is very into him. He's looking to give him a big push. The thing I read, which was very dirt sheety, but I saw it. You can't unsee it. Is that he sees him as like the new Shawn Michaels, you know? So look, but so I actually thought his segment was fucking funny and good. He got no laughs and he was looking for laughs, but there's also no one there.
Right.
He kind of makes me like not in a way where like I felt funny about it. I felt very conflicted, but I was like, oh, this is like kind of funny. Like he was like, oh, here's why I don't wear shoes, and he told the story about like going outside. It was kind of weird, but like then at the end he was like, they almost wanted to amputate the bros' tootsies, and I was like, kind of funny. He was like, they wanted to amputate the bros' tootsies, bro. Like I was like, I don't know. It's like pretty funny. I don't know.
Would you punch that up to Bro's toes, or do you think Tootsies is better?
the bros' toes, bro?
Tootsies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
He
my
looks like a
tootsies.
stoner. He talks like that naturally. We've seen it in his like assault accusation tape.
Right.
He can't even turn it off there. So I don't know. He's the story about how I never wear shoes. Like the amount of times I like want to hear about why wrestlers do stuff and we don't get it, and you hear like, here's why I don't wear shoes. It felt real. I think it is real.
Yeah.
He's saying he has no feeling in his feet. That's like Luger. He's got like the metal plate in his arm. Like here's why I don't wear shoes because I can't wear them. I'm comfortable. Like I don't know. I thought that was pretty. And like because there's nerve damage to it. Like I wrestle better this way. I don't know. I kind of like that kind of shit personally. You know.
A little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Peek at the tootsies.
Yeah, obviously, is my image of Riddle's extremely hurt. I can't right now. I would be like stoked for how he's doing. You know, I'm a big fan. I am still a fan of like his work. It's just it's hard to separate it. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's jump over to Raw for a sec. Yeah. And so, Dolph Ziggler. My boy opening up Raw with I thought it was a pretty cool segment. Heath Slater returned.
Mhm.
Dolph
Beef
had
Slater.
Slater.
What'd you guys think of Heath? Heath returned to confront McIntyre. Ziggler playing mind games with McIntyre. What'd you think? Although I would say that Heath Slater very quickly, he came out there to confront McIntyre, but very quickly realized he changed gimmicks very fast here. But yeah.
I think it was a nice little piece. I mean, it wasn't even acting, right? Because he's like, but he got emotional in the ring there with Drew.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, it was a nice depth of acting to Heath Slater that I've never seen. Just kind of letting himself feel that emotion and bring it into the scene. I thought it was good.
Well, he was like, "Oh, I actually only have 2 kids." I thought that was kind of a nice touch.
Right. He's like, not, my kids at home, not the 22 kids that you all think I have, my 2 daughters. Like, he got really real.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I hope that he gets cut up. He's nice and beefy right now. I'd like to see him, cut that up a little bit.
What do you think he do with it?
Free agent shirt, take that off.
Yeah.
That's a cool shirt, though.
I think that's his pro wrestling T-shirt, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what he does. I mean, I don't know if they're hiring him back or whatever, but I thought this was nice. I thought it was cool to see McIntyre kind of. He again, another guy, just a natural likability. I feel like we're entering an era we have a lot of good baby faces, which is normally seems to be the problem, is that there's a lack of them. But I really do think Drew is, it's a bummer he doesn't have the crowd, because I think this title run would be like really working and really good.
Yep.
Yep. I think he's really coming through. Like that whole Heath segment. There's a thing with Drew, again, another talk about like real natural likability, where you really think like I really believed in some kind of work shoot way that McIntyre was thinking about like, oh, it is a bummer. Like, this guy got fired and I am the champion. Like, that does suck. Like, this is my friend,
Yeah. I wonder if there's a connection between like how sort of like stressful and awful the world is,
right,
and then like sort of people like wrestlers rising to the occasion to be like good guys and like sources of like hope and inspiration, rather than like I'm a piece of shit who is cool
right,
but mean.
Well, starting from his run where he beat Brock, like at WrestleMania, he won, and then you would think he was kind of like probably if they interviewed me, I would be like, yeah, I'm bummed out, like I didn't get to like headline Tampa, you know what I mean?
Right.
But his thing was like, oh, actually now being the champion means more, because like this is when people need you the most. Like, right. I don't know. I hate to be such a fucking mark, although I love to be a mark. But I believe that comes from you can't unless I feel like lines like, because you would say that in interviews, not in script. Right. I think that comes from like a real place.
Absolutely.
Especially because I watched him wrestle on the indies and. You felt like he had integrity. I don't know. He seems like a real good guy. What do we think of Ziggler's look?
Ziggler's look. Talk about Karen, his hair.
When he flat irons his hair, it is like it's like Jericho scarf heel level like move.
Yeah.
Of like classic like heel 101, where it's like, I'm gonna do something that makes me look stupid. Yeah. And it's going to like subconsciously piss people off that I look that way.
Yeah.
And then it gets that like heel ball rolling without him having to say a word. Like his hair being flat ironed is so perfect.
Yeah, he needs like the Ziggler clam bake. Like feels like he's like he goes into full on like ski lodge, like my dad owns this place, like resort.
Yeah. Right.
Like that kind of like thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited for that match. We obviously know Ziggler will lose. They're already
He's gonna look great doing it.
Yeah, they're talking right now about hate to be all sheetsy, but whatever.
What has this podcast become?
I don't know. I guess
Sheets Davidson over here.
I know. Jeez.
Maybe I should start doing it in character. I'll be Donnie Sheets. Donnie Dirt Sheet.
Donnie Dirt Sheets.
Donnie Dirt Sheets. But because I was thinking for McIntyre, they were talking about going either for SummerSlam.
Sheets Lee. Sorry.
I love that guy.
They're talking
Sheets Lee. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Cheats Lee. Whoop whoop. Sorry. Go ahead.
They're talking. How dare you?
Stupid.
They're talking about. I'm sorry about that. I can't control the board
Wow.
here. Okay. But they're talking about going Brock Drew at SummerSlam. But then I read they're talking about maybe going Orton Drew at SummerSlam, which would be a killer feud
Whoa.
since Edge is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Orton Drew McIntyre?
That's a lot of beef.
It's a lot of beef. I was
It's a
about to
lot
say
of
the
beef.
exact same thing.
Oof.
Do you think you feed Orton, who I think right now is really, we're getting prime
Yes.
Orton right now. You feed Orton to Drew. You have Drew beat him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
think
is
so,
the
too.
time.
Randall doesn't
Now is
need
the
to
time.
win.
Randall
Yeah.
Keith.
No.
Randall Keith doesn't need to
Randall
win.
Keith, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need to win, and he's also the perfect person for him to beat
Mhm.
because he's like the legend killer, and he's this like talent that's been around for ever at this point.
Right.
And he just I think side by side too, Drew's one of the only people that like Randy doesn't make look like
Right.
a child.
It's interesting because it's like, what do you do with Drew? Because if we don't come back for a long time, it's like, it's almost like this run doesn't happen if he doesn't ever get in front of a crowd with this title, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He needs to be praised, like in person, you know?
hmm
But I think they will, because I think WWE will figure. They're gonna start doing. They're gonna start doing shows. Like I said, I think LA Mania will happen. They might have to sell it at 1/3 capacity or something, but like, you know, they'll figure out ways to space people by that point. They'll have different ways you enter, timed
Masks.
entry. Just yeah. Masks, mandatory masks. They'll probably give out masks so everyone's wearing like a Mania mask. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely like they're not gonna miss another Mania.
Another one, right.
Even if COVID's out of control. But I think Drew holds that title until he gets in front of a crowd, at least. Like I think there's a chance he goes. It's just weird because if he goes all the way to next, like if he goes like 400 something, like you know, it's like, does that count as a long run? Does that get a little asterisk? I can never. You guys, I'm so self-conscious about saying asterisk in this on this pod.
Is it a footnote?
Yeah, it's a footnote. Does it get a footnote? Anyway, irregardless, I think that I'm getting it over. Yeah, I think I think that sometimes you have to see a match like a McIntyre Ziggler, and you got to just say to yourself, I'm just going to enjoy this match. I already know what's going to happen. You know, we know Drew is going to end with a Claymore and a pin. You know, we know that. But
Watch Jericho's website for the results.
keep your eye on chrisjericho.com for the results as they happen live. But man, I'm excited to see just those two guys go at it. They do have a great history. If you look on WWE's Instagram, they posted like pictures of these guys from like 12, like not 12 years, probably maybe like 10 years ago wrestling. They have so I'm excited for that match, and I thought bringing Heath back was really fun.
When is the horror show? That's next weekend? Not
by
this
the way,
coming, the one after?
it's so funny, you know how scripted WWE is, because every wrestler said the horror show at Extreme Rules.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it was. That's how it was. Like every wrestler naturally would say, like you would naturally just be like at the horror show, but they would say the horror show at Extreme Rules. It's
Right.
like, you know that's like specific wording you're not allowed to fuck up. You know.
It's like the Largo at the Coronet or whatever.
Yes,
Right,
Largo at the
right,
Coronet.
right.
Exactly
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah, that's so funny. Anyway, all right. I mean, that's most of the stuff. Last thing I'll say, just a really small thing. They started doing Daniel Bryan commentary on Zoom during the AJ Gulak match. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm watching it at home," and it was kind of weird the way they did it. But I think that's a cool idea to like do some interviews and stuff during the matches, like some Zoom interviews. I just think that was a cool device, ways to get interesting. Cool. Anything? Yeah, that's everything really for the week. Oh, except for the one other note that I wrote that was Ric Flair being in the Performance Center makes me very nervous. He's too old, man, to be around. Like I fucking
Alive.
yeah.
He doesn't see it that way.
I think if you're him, you're kind of like. He always wanted to die in the ring. He said it. His fake
Yeah.
retirement, where he's like, I'm not, yeah, I'm not retiring. I'm here to announce that I'm never retiring. I'm gonna die in this ring. So maybe that's what he's going for. But no, I mean, I hate to even joke about that. But Ric Flair around all those other dudes, he's immunocompromised. Like, it's not worth it. You know, even if they're testing people. Somebody, you know, we know Corona's going around WWE. It's kind of a bummer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if that's kind of fucked up. Like if he does get Corona and passes away, if like right before he dies, he'll like stutter step like he's not going to, and then like fall over.
He does a flare flop.
He does a
You
flare flop.
saying that-
I'm not changing my lifestyle. I'm 4 or 5 women.
I'm not changing my lifestyle. I'm 5 or 6 feet away every day of my life.
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. Boom.
Yeah.
Hits the ground.
I'll be 6 feet away when I'm 6 feet in the ground. Woo! Whaboom.
Yeah,
You
no, we
hit the
can't do a
ground.
good flop. I don't have a flare flop sound drop.
Mm.
Okay, anyway.
Flare flop.
But yeah, no, I
Sound
don't know.
drop.
But my point is that you know, it's a slight bummer. It gets me a little nervous. Anyway, we'll focus more on AEW and NXT on the bonus episode. I'll record that with Tulo tomorrow. I'm sure this Tulo is back. By the way, he already texted me. I'm watching wrestling again. He took 1 week off because honestly, the Riddle news rocked him. You know.
I know. He
Um,
was rocked by that. He's done away with his wealth of Riddle merch. So
So I think he was pretty bummed, but I'm
Yeah.
glad he's back watching wrestling again. I do
Aren't we
believe
all?
you can't hold people's bad behavior in wrestling against the art. It's sometimes that's hard to do, but
Mhm.
if you did that, you wouldn't listen to music or watch any movies. All right, everybody, thanks for listening to the show this week. I appreciate it. Listen, support us, patreon.com/comedians wrestling. Check out the Cow Movie Club. If you're not, it's fun. If you're acquiring, watching these movies are a blast. They're movies you would, some of them you would watch. Some of them you would never watch. Plus, we give recommendations of stuff to watch when you're on the couch, stuff we dig, stuff we didn't dig. And we watched My Spy this week, which is free. That was supposed to be a big blockbuster movie, and it's for free on Amazon. Well, not free, but, you know, the cost of, well, it goes towards Erin's household.
yeah,
paid by
yeah.
the Bezos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Amazon,
My
absolutely.
Spy bonus.
My Spy, watching My Spy feeds Erin, is what I'm saying.
Yes, and I need food.
She's
Feed me
hungry.
more. Feed me
She's
more.
hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Feed me more. A little Ryback for
Yeah,
you. A little
yeah.
throwback to
Yeah,
Ryback.
I'm becoming Ryback.
I'll be coming. Feed me more Ryback. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the show. And everybody, keep watching wrestling. Cheers up. Kisses.